Howdy folks, I'm Ben Gray, and welcome to another video preview of my Saturday Morning Adventures mod. I had a request to show off some of the powers and abilities of the ThunderCats in a bit more depth. So this video is designed to provide an in-depth look at sort of what each of them can do and explain a bit about sort of where these ideas come from in terms of the cartoon and their influences. So let's start with Lion-O, the Lord of the ThunderCats. So he's got the Sword of Omens and the Eye of Thundera, of course, these incredibly powerful relics. He's also got his Claw Shield, and together these give him a lot of different options. So to start with, he has several different range attacks, of course, using the sword itself, but he also has, using the claw, the ability to shoot out a line that can capture a foe. It looks like that he resisted that, but that can put an enemy into stasis and lets you get away from them, get some distance, or keep them out of the fight for a while. But want to keep away from those. Uh-oh. So one of the abilities that the mutants have is the rage gas they use in the Prisoners of Plundar. And so they've enraged Lion-O here. We'll have to intervene and save him from them. Alright, so one of his abilities, that's one of his most powerful, is the ability to use the Eye of Thundera to shoot a cone. You'll see that does a ton of damage and knocks foes back quite effectively. It's his most powerful, but also the most energy draining attack. And that took Jackalman out and did good damage to the others. So he also has the ability to shoot a beam from the sword, and you can see that does a lot of damage as well. And we see him use both of these abilities in the cartoon, sort of shooting a cone of energy from the sword, from the eye itself, and shooting a direct beam from the sword. And that leaves Monkeyin. And let's see, we've shown the Capture Claw. Sight beyond sight. So we want to use that on Slithe. So sight beyond sight, he uses this, of course, in the cartoon to see dangers that are approaching and get insight into the threats he's facing. And in the story of the mod, that will play the same function, but I wanted to give it an in-game function as well. And so sight beyond sight actually allows him to get insight into an enemy's weaknesses, and you might recognize the sound here. There we go. And so now Slithe, who's resistant to piercing damage, is now vulnerable to it, which means that we should be able to finish him off quite easily. There we go. So this allows Lion-O to sort of punch above his weight class a little bit and weaken enemies who are strong against his damage types, and gives him a chance to surprise foes. He has one last ability, or two last abilities, which are worth showing off, but I'll need his allies to show them. So of course, probably the most famous ability of the Sword of Omens is the ability to inspire and summon the ThunderCats. So he can use this in game, and it does precisely this. It increases the damage of his allies, making them more dangerous.
Prepare for some pounding.
And allowing them to
This is gonna hurt.
deal a lot of damage, and also snaps them out of any negative effects they might be experiencing. It is a rally effect in the game, boosting allies' damage potential, but also sort of generally making them stronger all the way around. This will also be used in the story of the game to summon his allies at crucial moments, but I also wanted to give that one a function in the game that gave you a tangible benefit. So Lion-O's last ability is similar to his ThunderCats call, and that is the ability to use the sword to channel power into himself directly, giving him a strength bonus and a damage bonus. So you can see he took that trooper out in one shot. Next up is Panthro, who's my favorite of the ThunderCats and the strongest, and for my money, the coolest. He's got a lot of different abilities. He's, of course, strong in melee, but he also has the ability to do a lot of different things with his nunchucks, including shooting explosive pellets, freezing enemies. Oh, he resisted that, so let's get some distance.
By the forces of right.
There we go. Try that again.
By the forces of right.
There we go. So he can freeze enemies. He can use flame blasts that do good damage and knockback.
Forces of right.
And he can spray acid, which does ongoing damage.
Prepare for some pounding.
So he's got good combos, as well as the flying kick you saw a moment ago, making him quite a threat in melee and giving him a range of different, ranged options. He's sort of balanced. He doesn't have the range potential of Tigra, but he's got a lot of flexibility, as well as just being, generally a powerhouse. Chitara is, of course, the fastest of the ThunderCats, and she can do a lot of different things in the cartoon with her staff, and I couldn't really find art assets that gave me the animation option as I needed to capture a lot of that. So I focused mostly on her super speed, and she's pretty effective because of that. So her probably sort of chief ability is capacity to move across the map with great speed and to use that speed offensively, charging into foes and knocking them over, simply zipping around quickly. And one of the things I want to do with her that I haven't done yet is replace that effect for her speed with a yellow version to capture the coloring that was always used in the cartoon. And she's got a range of melee powers that are all very fast, as you might imagine, including the ability to strike any enemies around her. Let's zoom in close here. So she zips around and does damage to anybody who's close. She also has a stunning punch using her speed. It's a little hard to see there, but she feints with one hand and then pops the enemy with the other. She has a combo with a number of different animations. And we'll go ahead and use a revival to give her more energy to show off her final combo, which is the strongest. There we go. That is Chitara. Tigra is our most sort of ranged focused of our heroes. He has his Bolo Whip, which has a number of different powers in the cartoon, including the ability to, of course, tie up enemies. Simply deal damage. Oh. Well, they're on my tail, so now's a good chance to show off the primary ability, which is, of course, to turn invisible. Oh, didn't go quite long enough. There we go. That, of course, allows you to reposition, sneak past enemies, accomplish all kinds of sneaky things. And so let's show off one of his other abilities, which is the ability to strike enemies in a 360-degree arc. using Whip. Very high stun, as you can see. And he also has a smaller version that does good stun. Oh. And one of the coolest abilities of his whip is the ability to fire fireballs, which can be pretty powerful. He, of course, has a range of melee attacks as well, including a straight-up, rather, in addition to a straight-up whip attack. Let's try his combo. Jackalmen, of course, are the most agile of our foes, which makes them a little hard to hit. There we go. Finally, Tigra has another ability, which is something we see a couple of times in the cartoon, the ability to create illusions. So he can summon duplicate versions of himself that are illusory, that can fool enemies and keep them busy. Now this takes a lot of energy and can leave him drained, but it's a pretty good way to keep your enemies distracted and set them up for a pretty devastating combo. Because of course they can't do any harm to your illusions. I said finally, but there is actually one last ability to show off for Tigra. I gave him an ability to get past an enemy's defenses as well as Lino. His is not as effective, but it is still useful. To me, the logic of this was that he is the sort of the trained observer, the scientist of the group, and so his Architect's Eye ability allows him to analyze an enemy and find their defenses. Oh, he resisted that, but let's try it again. Come on. Oh no. I'm taking a beating here. There we go. So that makes him more vulnerable to our damage and helps us finish him off. So that gives you a pretty good idea of what our different heroes can do. I hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth look at the ThunderCats powers. If you've got any feedback, any suggestions, anything that you think that I've missed, or anything that you'd like to see tweaked or changed, please don't hesitate to reach out. I hope to hear from you all. Take care, guys.